Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to take a look at a set of the Witte screwdrivers. Now when we did the original video on these Klein grip screwdrivers, a bunch of you guys in the comments said those look like they're made by Witte. So I did the responsible thing and I went out and bought a set of Witte screwdrivers because science. So what I got was these. There may have been better options, but these were kind of in the same vein with the Cork. These are Cork. I'm not convinced these are. These still have some other texture to them, having seen these, but we'll get into that. So let's get these things open. They are made in Germany, if you're keeping track. And they come here in this cardboard package. You get 3 straights and 2 Phillips. So let me get these out. Okay, so we have both sets out here, and I do see some similarities like you guys were talking about. There's a few outliers. Now these are made a number of years ago, I believe, so the manufacturing practices may have changed. You can see the straights on the Germany-made Klein set have hex on them. I didn't see any in the supplier that I was purchasing from that had that. But we are triangle lobe screwdrivers. They have a plastic base, and that plastic base is very akin to the plastic that we see on these, and we can take a better look at that in the microscope. And they have the inset Cork in them. The screwdrivers themselves, the end finishing also looks very similar. So I think you guys nailed it. I do believe that's who made these screwdrivers. And we can get out the good old microscope here and do a little bit of fun comparing just to see, for fun's sake. Alright, so we have the microscope fired up, and let's start off with the what should be pretty close to a 1/4 inch, or is it a 3/16? What should be close to a 3/16, because I did not get the should be 1/4, I got the should be 5/16. So let's compare these two. And the keystone manufacturing of them, get everything in focus here, is very much akin in the manufacturing processes. You can see the grinding might be a little different on the Klein than the branded Witte, but overall I think the screwdriver is very similar. You can see the finishing at the end of the hardening, I believe, and just the overall shape looks pretty similar. Now I do have a Hazit screwdriver about this size, so let's just compare that. It's a little bit more actually, if I'm looking at them, you can see how the edges are kind of rounded on these two, and if we look at the edges on the Witte, you can see they are quite a bit more crisp. So they may have changed their manufacturing processes at some point. Now I do not have a Phillips Hazit here, but let's take a look at the Phillips between the two manufacturers here. Well, between the Witte and what we think is a Witte. Get a little bit more in focus here. If we look at how the Phillips is made, it looks pretty close. I think I could probably be convinced on the Phillips. The finish is a little different, but there could be a number of years between this. But the overall shape of how the Phillips is made, I think, is pretty close. I don't know if I'm convinced just judging by what I see between these screwdrivers. If this straight wasn't rounded like the Hazit, I wish I had a Hazit Phillips here to look at. See how that's rounded on the ends? Both of those. They aren't ground crisp like this one. You have a very crisp corner where you don't on either the Klein or the Hazit. Neither of them are very crisp. So, I don't know. I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. That's kind of interesting development. Maybe these are another manufacturer. I will say with the tri-lobe and everything, they do kind of seem like they would be in this family. I talked about the finish of the plastic. See if I can get that in focus here. So you see that very porous plastic, and that is very similar to the Klein set. And then on the inner part of the plastic, I don't know if I can get that in focus. Maybe I can. We can kind of see the finish is not the greatest, but if we go here to the Klein set, we see pretty much the same thing. The finish is kind of sloppy and not the greatest. So I think, judging on those traits, I think the handles are convincingly a similar manufacturer, and the Phillips looks very similar. I'm just not so sure. Let me know if you have some older Witte screwdrivers and if they ground them differently years ago. So, since we're looking at these, let's take a look at this Cork grip. And you can see that is very clearly Cork, and it goes pretty nicely into that rubber. And that is very clearly Cork. Very, very clearly Cork. If I can get it in focus. And the rubber is pretty nice if you feel it. It's not too gummy and it's not too... But that is definitely Cork. Now, interestingly, if we go back to the Klein set, this is not Cork. You cannot convince me otherwise. This is not Cork. You can see the hairs sticking out of it if you really look at it. It feels basically like a carpet. That's the best I could explain. Like one of those cheap outdoor throw carpets. That is exactly what this feels like. So I'm not sure what this is, but you can definitely see the hair fibers in this. So it is definitely not Cork, but inset into a handle all the same. I think this is a pretty nice set. They have a good feel. I've actually come to start to enjoy the triangular shaped screwdriver. They don't roll crazily. Obviously, if you get anything rolling, it'll take off on you. And they have a decent fit in your hand. So I think think I'm going to like these. I think they have a pretty good feel to them. Now they do have a pass-through, you can see here with the light, so you can hang them on something. That's something that this Klein set does not have, but that could have been spec'd that way. All these have that. They call them their Nature line, I guess because of the cork. And it's a similar trait to the Kleins. Kleins are also triangular. So if that's Witte's thing, that they have the triangular screwdrivers, that is another point that is very much in favor of these being made by them. Now I think these are very nice, like you would generally expect for that German quality. The tips and everything are, we saw they're nicely ground. The handle fit and finish, we took a look at that. That is very nice. Everything's there. Now there are some things that, you know, a little cheaper here and there. The plastic quality isn't the best on them, but what matters is in decent shape. The metal is ground and fit nicely and everything else. I don't know how they have them staked in the handles, but they seem like they're decent. Let's get out our hardness files and see if we can figure out how hard these are. I think I'm digging in with the 60. I'm just kind of skating-ish. Definitely skating with the 55. So I think we'll see the 65. Oh yeah. 65 cuts in, so it's probably on the cusp of a 60. Which I forget what we had. What did we say we had with the Klein set? We have about the same. I can feel that. Like I'm starting to dig in. I'm gonna skate with the 55. Yep. And we're gonna dig in with the 65. Oh yeah. So hardness is about the same. For the heck of it, let's see what this Hazit screwdriver's got. 55. Ah, 55 digs. Oh, that's the 65. 55. 55 still makes a mark. So, yeah, the Hazit is softer. So by the hardness, I'm going to go with you guys are right as well, because the Hazit seems to be a softer screwdriver than these, and the Kleins are as hard as these. So the finishing process, they may have started grinding them differently as time went on. So I think you guys are pretty close, and I think this is a good set of screwdrivers. I like the cork, I like the rubber. I kind of wish these were almost the same. I mean, the plastic being here is nice, which I guess if you're immersed in oil, you wouldn't want the rubber. I don't know, let me know your thoughts on that. But I think overall, I'm gonna like these. Like I said, I've started to enjoy the triangular shaped screwdriver handles, and these are gonna have a nice, especially if you're working on something that if you're laying it down, you don't want it necessarily rolling away and marking up what you're working on. The cork, if it sets down on this cork, there's not as much of a concern of making any marks on your workpiece or what you're working on at that point. So really interesting set of screwdrivers. I like them a lot. I'm glad you guys said something, and I am glad I took the plunge and bought a set of these. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Are you convinced that the Klein screwdrivers that we took a look at the other week are made by Witte? Or do you think we have yet another make that we need to try and look at? I think I'm fairly convinced. There are some subtle differences, but I am looking at different eras of manufacturing as well. So that also has to be taken into account when you're looking at things like this. So Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thought we'd have a quick, fun little look at some screwdrivers. And as always, thanks for watching, and have a great day.